Let's go back to line 6.
Last 5 pages.
73rd.
So first one, the second one I won first. And Harry was born on.
Evening councillors, staff and gallery. Welcome to the October meeting. First I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country and throughout the Barossa region and recognise their continued connection to land, waters and culture, and pay respect to the elders past, present and emerging. Members, I might add a new director, Jake, welcome. I think you've met most of the councillors, so welcome to the council. We look forward to your expertise, and I've already been told by your previous employer that very disappointed that you've left there, but it's our gain. So thank you very much for choosing us, and good selection, whoever was involved. I do have an apology from Councillor Evans. We'll note that. And Councillor Hearn. And we'll note Councillor Hearn as well. Move to item 2.1, and that's minutes of the previous meetings for confirmation. And that was item is to do with the council meeting held on the 19th of September 2023 at 5:30 and a special council meeting held on Wednesday the 4th of October 2023 at 7:45. Someone move those minutes be accepted. Councillor Priest and seconded Councillor De Vries, all in favour? Carried. Procedural items, there's no petitions, no deputations, no notice of motion and question without notice. Councillor De Vries has asked with the leave of the meeting at the end of the meeting to make a councillor comment, so I'll put that to the meeting when we get to the closure of business as listed for that opportunity. Mayor's report, 4.1, the Mayor's report of August-September on page 9. I was away, and I understand there was a question from that. Okay, all right. Well, that report's there. Thanks for that clarification. Is there any questions on that particular item? If not, someone move that the August-September Mayor's report be received. Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Greatwich. All those in favour? Carried. And of course, the Mayor's report for this October meeting on page 8. Any questions that anyone may have with regard? I might add that while I was away, there was a rally and there's a letter of thanks, and we've got a nice plate in recognition and thanks from the Barossa Rally organisers. Beg your pardon? Can I add something to that? Yes.
I was very honoured to represent yourself and wave them off, which was great. The rally SA was saying that it's the best rally they have in the state, is the one in the Barossa. One of their organisers actually lives in Williamstown, and I've actually suggested that he might like to come along and make a small presentation in the next couple of workshops whenever there's one available, just so he can sort of, I guess, humanise it, so we can get a sense of what they're doing. But they could not have been more excited and more thrilled with the Barossa Council's involvement, and we're very, very thankful for everything that we've done. So just thought I'd share that.
Thank you. No further questions. Someone like to move the Mayor's report for October? Councillor Troop and seconded Councillor De Vries. All those in favour? Carried. Item 6 is matters for information. Those matters are there for information. Is there any matters that anyone wish to have withdrawn? Councillor Barrett.
Oh, sorry.
Page 188, item 6.12, item 6.12. Page 191, item 6113, Talunga Caravan Park and surrounds.
Yep, okay. We'll deal with it now, sir.
Excellent, thank you.
Just want to have a brief summary and then I'll see if I get a seconder.
Yeah, all right then. I've been liaising with the CEO, and the CEO has kindly been a wordsmith, and he has put together a three-part motion, and to do with bringing forward the work at Talunga Park rather than wait for it to take its course through the new initiative process and all the good work that's been done on the current roadways within the facility deteriorate between now and when any future works will take place. So what I'm after is for people to consider the potential savings we've got by looking at bitumenising, and that is the major expense in that caravan park facility, and also some additional works in front of the show hall, so that is the main thrust of this particular motion, and I'll just leave it at that at this stage.
I was going to second it.
Further comment now?
Thank you very much. It was with some trepidation I put this forward, because I'm very mindful if it gets rejected then it's 12 months before we can bring it back again. But sometimes you have to strike whilst the iron is hot, and we've just, as a council, redeveloped the local caravan park within Mount Pleasant, and when it first started out it was going to have bitumen roads. Then due to budget constraints, the bitumen roads went by the wayside. The facility has now been opened, and what has been noted is it could be vastly improved by a few alterations. I drive through there 2 or 3 times a week, look at the facility, and I can see how the positioning of various rain heads as caravans try and reverse through narrow roads, and there's dust issues around the place. And I've seen what's happened out in front of the show hall, and if anyone likes I can show you some photos of what that is like after you get a little bit of rain. It's actually a quagmire. What I would very much like councillors to consider is bringing this one forward whilst the roads that have just been redeveloped are in such a state they can have fresh bitumen laid upon them early on in the stage, rather than waiting until they deteriorate at a lot greater cost. And that is the major thrust while I've brought this one forward and discussed it in this particular format. So I haven't got any more to say other than it is a potential cost saving in the longer term by doing it now rather than having to wait 12, 18 months down the track. So that's all I've got to say in relation to it.
Yeah, I'm going to support this. I think it's would be. I'd like to see it lifted to the level that we can as quickly as possible. I don't think actually if we defeat this, you can't bring it back anyway, because it's only when we rescind something that you can't come back. But you can knock something over as many times as you like, and you can always bring it back the next month. So, but yeah, I'll be supporting this for sure.
I just wanted to be very clear. So option 2 we're talking about is the bitumisation of essentially the ring route around at a cost of $221,000. I wasn't certain as to why that was put aside in the first instance in the redevelopment, and I wanted to be clear that the reason that there is a time frame in place is because the state of the current site would mean that it is easier to add. We all know my, substrate, not my strength. But it would be easier to add this work in now rather than try and retrofit it in after a period of time when I'm assuming landscaping works and that sort of thing have been done. So that's the time imperative, is that correct? I'm sort of asking like 8 different people at once.
CEO, I'll throw to the CEO.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Gratwich. It really comes down to the road is already trimmed, ready to seal. And that's the cheapest and best efficient use. Your second question, just to clarify, it also includes some concrete abutments just to assist access. We haven't had any problems at the moment due to the way it's being managed, but when it gets fuller, some of those spots are going to get a bit tight.
Any further questions? Wish to close the debate?
No, I think I've said enough. People understand what the issues are.
Okay. Motion is there, it's moved and seconded. All those in favour? Carried. We'll move to 7.1, which is on page 204, which is the Code of Practice for Public Access to Meetings and Meeting Documents.
I'm very sorry, Mr Mayor. I had a question under agenda item number 6. Is it possible to ask that question still?
No. Yeah, which one?
Just in relation to the Government of South Australia's community climate conversations that was included as a matter for information on page 165. The question was just whether the council had a particular communication strategy in terms of putting that information out into the community and inviting or facilitating any of those conversations or any particular action under that program.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Gratwich. The main way that we can communicate that is just through our normal social medias and websites. There's no specific strategy in place.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I just do know to add to that there is already a community group who are working with this now. So it's a Facebook group, but there's a bit of ongoing interest in it.
Thank you. Code of Practice 204, 7.1.1.
That's what I had that up for that, and Councillor Gratwich threw what I was going to ask.
Yeah, just in the report, I noticed that if a councillor leaves council, he still cannot speak on a confidential matter. I find
Correct.
that a bit strange, that you can't, if you've left, you're still obligated not to speak about a confidential matter.
Just like official secretary.
So just a question.
Through you,
Yes.
Mr Mayor. Councillor Priest, correct. That's what the law says.
Oh, okay.
Any further questions? Councillor Barrett.
Comments rather than questions. Could I make comment? And I'd like to just make comment in relation to 6.9 at page 167, the Local Nuisance and Litter Act. Oh, you moved on? All right, I'll be quiet then.
You've allowed Councillor Gratwich to ask a question that we've already moved
Yeah,
on.
I have, you're right.
So in fairness, Councillor Barrett should be able to ask.
Yeah, okay, all right. We won't, okay.
It's not overly... Yeah, sorry, the meeting was moving on too quick for me. The only comment I was going to make is, and I found it very interesting under that particular act, that the local nuisance does not include dust from council roads. So I found that a very intuitive inclusion in that particular act. So dust is not included from our roads anymore as a local nuisance. And I just sort of let people know if they didn't pick up on that one. And also I popped over to Linddock to the Altona, the open day over there, fantastic event, and the spider orchids were still flowering on Sunday afternoon. So there are only two comments I had to make.
Thank you. Can I move to 7 now? We've got it covered? Okay, that's all right.
I move the recommendation, Your Worship. The moment Councillor Priest actually asked a question on this item, you'd kind of had.
Yeah,
So he was the one who actually started it.
Anyway.
You did. You asked a question on this item.
I've given you all a little bit of latitude.
Anyway, I'm moving the recommendation.
We won't debate the process. It's my error up here. Okay. Moved Councillor De Vries, seconder. Councillor Angus. Further comment? All those in favour? Carried. Item 7.1.2, page 216, is a change to the council resolution number 2022-26/220 review of the Vintage Festival on page 216. Any questions?
Happy to move recommendation 1.
Moved Councillor Angus, recommendation 1, and
I'm happy to second that.
seconded Councillor Greatwich. Either one wish to speak to it? Okay. All those in favour of question 1, recommendation 1, it's carried. And there's a second recommendation there. Councillor Angus moved and Councillor Barrett second. Either one wish to speak to it? Put the recommendation. All those in favour? Carried. Page 219, appointment of members of the Nuriupta Centenary Park Authority Audit and Risk Committee. With the recommendations there of 2 nominees. The CEO.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, thank you. I actually received the attachments required the day after that was distributed, and I've obviously distributed those. Can you just go back to and there's a slight amendment to the resolution because it's obviously not pending a response anymore, and more than happy that they meet the requirements of the charters.
Based on that advice from the CEO. Councillor Schilling,
I have a question.
Yes?
Not relating to the recommendation, but relating to an item in the minutes of the NPCA. Am I able to ask a question or notice for the next meeting?
Where's their minutes?
On page 223.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the actual minutes that are actually attached to this were presented at the last meeting, but yes, you can always ask a question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did pick it up at the last meeting, but
Yep.
I forgot to raise it as a question or notice, but it's in relation to other business in the minutes, Coulthard Reserve update, and we have been doing some discussions about the ownership around Coulthard Reserve and whether council was going to take over or some maintenance there, and I noticed that there's still no direction on that, and I just would like to put a question on notice as to, you can answer it? Okay,
Yep.
excellent. Thank you.
CEO?
You want me to do that now? Thanks, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Schilling. We did go back to Coulthard and have particular support. The current understanding of the board, which I can more than clarify and bring back a formal report to the next council meeting, is that their viewpoint and who's going to manage Coulthard Reserve has changed, but I haven't received that formally. But I'm more than happy to chase that up and bring a formal report back to council.
Councillor Priest had his light on, so Councillor Priest.
I was going to move the motion in its current form.
Move Councillor Priest and seconded Councillor Schilling. You wish to speak to it? Any further question, comment? All those in favour? Carried. This is appointment 7.1.4, the appointment of member to the Nuriupta Centenary Park Authority Board of Management on 225. CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to update you, I also received this attachment after the email was sent, releasing the agenda. Again, you've got a copy of that confidential information. Certainly, as per my communication, no doubt meets the requirements of the Charter as well. So I would recommend that my recommendation is again to remove the pending component.
Then I'll... I'll allow him to move it and I'll second it.
Okay, I'll move it.
Councillor Breeze. Councillor Priest. Seconded. Either one wish to speak? All those in favour? Carried. (7.1.5) request for top regional infrastructure priorities, Regional Development Australia Infrastructure Prioritisation Assessment on page 231. There's a list of suggested top 5 regional for council to consider, and the recommendation endorses from council those regional infrastructure priorities for consideration. Any questions? Yes.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. If I could just add, I've, at a meeting yesterday, clearly articulated that a little bit more time than 3 weeks is needed to put together 5-year infrastructure plans, and of which Regional Development Australia Barossa really has no, they're in the same boat, let me put it that way. One issue that the Mayor raised with me is where is the Adelaide Wine Trail, in essence, and that was put forward by another council, so it's no use repeating the same thing. What happens now, sorry, I also more knowledge about that now, is all the 7 regions now get together on a formula based to actually decide of the 70 that are being put forward, which potentially get through as the top 20, and that will be a state-based priority. So I think it's fair to say that of the 16 that got put up by the different councils, sorry, there were 19 in the end, there's not really going to be that many that get up, and it's only at the end of the day a priority list. It doesn't, there's no funding that comes with any of this.
Okay, with that clarification, those top 5 are still as been tabled. Yep. Moved Councillor Angus and seconded Councillor Greatwich. Either one wish to speak?
Yes, just to say that I think those, despite a lack of time to consider it adequately, I think it does encapsulate the greatest needs foreseeable, particularly our involvement with the future development of Concordia. That is essential if we're to avoid what's happened in other parts of the state, because I will be ashamed if Concordia turns out like Mount Barker. So I think the staff have done a good job, and we'll get behind that.
Any further comment? All those in favour? Carried. On page 237, 7.2.1 is a monthly financial report as at the 30th of September 2023. Any questions? Councillor Priest?
To the CEO through the chair. When we do our budget, and we put a figure out, and this is what we're going to adhere to, it seems like we just keep on coming back and asking for millions and millions more, and yet we haven't even budgeted for. Should this be the right way to go? That we keep on coming back, even though we've done our budget, and then we've come back another 2 million and another 100,000, another $500,000, and then, well, that's not a good way to run a budget. And you say about households running their budgets. Well, I don't think we should be in the same boat that we're not running our budgets properly. We keep on coming back and asking for more.
Councillor, I just might point out you seconded a motion earlier on to add some more. So.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Priest. I guess it goes to a couple of understandings how budgets work, both in households and councils and large organisations. Things change, and you need a mechanism to adjust to those changes. So, for instance, you'll get a report at the next one where there's more revenue than we forecast. So we need to recognise these things through the processes. It's never great having to increase or change budgets, but also equally, if you think that we are thinking about infrastructure that's 50, 100, 200 years timeframe for long-term assets, there are logical reasons to make decisions such as the one that we've done today. Ultimately, I'll say how you run the budget is up to you. You pass the budget, you pass the policies and the processes that govern that budget, and that's what your staff run to. You do you need to do 3 budget reviews every year at least, and that's about trying to bring the budget up to date, and there'll be savings in that and there'll be changes in that. I was only talking to Jane Evans about budgets the other day. I mean, our budget is 60,000 lines long, so it's always going to have some movements here and there. So ultimately how the budget is run is up to you, and it is also legislatively required to review the budget on at least 3 different occasions. We do have a reasonably good, strong financial position, so there will always be some ups and downs. And I guess to use the words of our recently departed Manager of Finance, a budget is just a guesstimate. It will alter, and we do our best, obviously, and we'll alter down too. So things do go up and down. Hopefully that assists.
Councillor De Vries.
Move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Moved Councillor De Vries. Seconded Councillor Troop. Either one wish to speak? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Page 240 on 7.2.2 is the Barossa Arts Festival sponsorship request. Councillor Greatwich.
Thank you. I'd like to propose a slight amendment to the recommendation, if that's possible, please. And if someone would be so kind as to remind me of what the formal process is to do that, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay. So the slight amendment that I would like to suggest or advocate for is that under recommendation 1C, if the council does go ahead with providing $30,000 in financial sponsorship, I'd actually like to remove the provision, or I'd like to explore the option to remove the provision where 50% is paid after the 30th of November. So that's contingent on a couple of things, but also that the remaining 50% is paid upon the successful completion of the event. I think that in the arts community, in a small community event such as this, for $15,000, I understand that there's a bit of a hedging there, that we want some certain parameters to be met, and I suppose KPIs to be met. But I think that in the scheme of things, talking about our 60,000 long line budget, that $15,000 is a relatively small amount of money, and I think it would make a really big difference for the organisers to have that full component up front in sponsorship. Yes, could we just say that that the sponsorship funds are paid after the 30th of November 2023? That's great, thank you very much.
And you're moving that?
I would move that, yes, thank you very much.
Councillor Angus?
I'm happy to second that, Mayor, and I had exactly the same concern. I thought it was just a little bit tough on the arts community to, I applaud the changed status of the motion, and I fully support it.
Councillor Greatman, you want to speak further on? Any questions? Councillor De Vries.
I'm just going to declare that I'll be supporting this motion. I think that the arts has been underdone for quite some time, actually, and we've done a terrific job towards recreation and sport. I think the arts deserves a little bit of love. We have supported this event in the past, and I think we should be supporting it again.
Any further comment? Councillor Troop.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to agree and I'd be supporting this as well. We've spent a lot of money on sports, and I just think the other side of the fence needs to be acknowledged and supported with our whole heart because, I mean, it takes all kinds of people in the valley, and I think this is a great thing to support.
No further comment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried.
Actually ask a question. Yes. Sorry, Mr Mayor, can I just actually ask a question of the mover? Can you just go back up for me? I just want to be clarified when we're implementing this motion. Part C is conditional on B. That's the understanding. So the payments are not made unless the person reaches that threshold. Cool. I'm just making sure I've got it right. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for clarification. Page 273, 7.3.1, the road naming Wirramina Care, private access road. Any questions? It's just continuing whatever's our public road name is, it's just keeping it consistent, so. Yep. Councillor Barrett and Councillor Priest. Either one wish to speak? Okay. All those in favour? Carried. The 7.3.2, the Chanunda Kegel Club toilet construction on page 275. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor. As has been distributed to fellow councillors, I read through it and I believe we could improve it slightly to look after the interests of the council, and I requested the CEO, and I thank him for his efforts, and there's an extra paragraph 3 in relation to the instead of the club having exclusive use, but it then becomes more open for large events. So that was the recommendation, the addition to the recommendation I've put. I just think it protects us as a council if you're having large events at that facility rather than being excluded because one club has got exclusive use of it. So that was the addition I've got to that particular motion.
So we just get number 3 up for us. So it requires the toilets to be available to public use at all reasonable times, which includes events of state, region and local level at the recreation park, and if requested by the users of the park while local sporting activities are being undertaken. It's moved by Councillor Barrett. Councillor Priest. Councillor Barrett, you can speak in more detail if you wish.
No, I think it's self-evident. I'd just like to see full use of the facilities. I see what happens down in Mount Pleasant. I look at what happened at the federal government. They upgraded the show administration building. That building is shared by the Pony Club, the Farmers Market and the Show Society. And contained within that building is the disabled toilet that gets opened up on a regular basis, and it gets used by all and sundry that come to Toollunga Park. And I can't see why this should be any different. Even though, because we're putting in roughly just over 2/3, I think it should be available to the public when the needs are there. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Councillor Priest? Any further comment? All those in favour? Carried. 7.3.3 GSM, the Grannock Road, Samuel Road, Mopper Road roundabout update on page 281. Any questions that anyone may have with regard to that report?
Move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Councillor De Vries. Councillor De Vries.
This is long overdue. I've seen many of people have taken photographs where, and films where people have been driving, trucks have been just driving through that intersection at full speed without slowing down. For the life of me, I don't understand how that's possible. But that's been the situation. This is desperately needed and long overdue. I'm glad the Light Council's doing this.
No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. 7.4 is the development of community services, which is the 7.4.1, the electric vehicle charging station, Nuriupta Soldiers Memorial Hall post-consultation on page 288. Any questions?
Move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Moved Councillor De Vries, seconded Councillor Lane. Councillor De Vries.
I can't think of anything to add, to be honest.
I think it's going to become popular.
No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Councillors, that gets to our confidential item 8.1.1, which is a Supreme Court legal action update on page 332. So would someone please move we go into confidence? Move Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Greatwich. With that, I need to ask the gallery to please leave. You can stay outside and come back, and that'll be the formal closing of the meeting. So.